What's going on, guys? I'm Pinsetter1991, making a new tutorial video. Today I'm going to show you guys how to draw this, the dark charcoal forest. You might have seen the speed drawing video I did of this about a year ago. So I'm going to go over all the techniques and all the materials. So let's start off with materials. First off, I use compressed charcoal and charcoal pencils, and I'll go over all of this more in depth throughout the video. You're going to need some erasers. I use 3 different types of erasers. Just your standard rubber eraser. Then there's also kneaded erasers, which you can, they're pliable, so you can shape them into whatever shape you want. And I also use the eraser pencil made by Faber-Castell that you can actually sharpen. For blending, you're going to need some blending stumps, or tortillons is what they're also called. I also use a brush a few times. It's called a Duo Pastello, made by Habico, but there's other options out there because this brush is kind of expensive. I haven't found it for very cheap, but you could probably get away with using like a makeup brush or a paint brush as long as it's soft enough. I also use my hands to blend a lot, and I also use tissue paper, toilet paper. Then the last thing you're going to need is a little bit of white charcoal. That also comes as a pencil or as compressed, little sticks. Alright, so to start off, I'm using a piece of the compressed charcoal, and I'm just going over the paper with it. By the way, the paper I'm using is Arches. It's a watercolor paper. So I go over that with the compressed charcoal, and then I'm going to smooth it out. I'm just using a piece of toilet paper, which I found works the best. You could use tissue paper, but that's really soft, so it'll break up a lot faster than the toilet paper. Down at the bottom, I'm going to start figuring out where some of the trees are going to go. So you can see I'm making a few shapes of trees, but I'm not adding any kind of details yet. I'm just making a few dark areas where I want the trees to go eventually. So now I'm using my hand. I do that all the time. Just make sure your hands are clean, because you could leave fingerprints from the oils in your skin, and those are pretty much impossible to get rid of once they're on your paper. So just wash your hands first. So now I'm going to lighten up the sky a little bit and add in a few clouds, and later on I end up lightening it up even more, but this is just using the regular rubber eraser. So we'll go ahead and speed this up a little bit. I think you guys get the general idea. Now I'm using the Faber-Castell, that eraser pencil, because I want to add a few more highlights on top of the clouds, and this pencil does a really good job at that. So now I'm going to go back to the trees and work on those a little bit, just using the regular rubber eraser, and I'm going to erase away some highlights on the trees. I'm still not trying to add in any kind of details yet. You just got to get an idea in your head of where the sun is, where the light's coming from, and then you can highlight it. Now I'm going to use a charcoal pencil. This is probably a medium hardness. I'm still not really going into a lot of details, but I'm starting to kind of scribble in some leaves and branches and stuff. These trees are more in the background. They're going to be some of the trees that are further away, so it's not really important to try to add tons of perfect little leaves and bark and branches on them. I'm really just scribbling in values, darks and lights. See, now I kind of decided that the sky is still a little bit too dark. It's easier to do this before you start working on the trees, but luckily, like I was saying, these trees don't need a lot of detail, so you can erase away more of the sky if you want it to be lighter. But you definitely don't want to try to do this last, you know, when you've already got a bunch of trees in, because then you're risking erasing a lot of details. So now the background's a little bit lighter. I'm going to go in and add some more highlights to these trees, and I'm using that eraser pencil again, and I'll give you a closer look of exactly what I'm doing. You can see you can sharpen the point of it and use it to add lots of little tiny highlights and stuff. Now at the base of the trees there's going to be a little bit more shadow, so I'm using some compressed charcoal. I'm going to put some of that down and then blend it in. And now I use a little bit of white charcoal. I wanted to try and add some highlights to the top of those clouds. So now I'm taking a piece of toilet paper and I'm smoothing out these trees, making them look a little bit more blurry. This is kind of optional, but I like to do it because it makes it look a little bit more natural to me, because these trees are in the background. They're further away, so they're not going to be really like in focus. So I'm adding a little bit more ground, and then I'm just going to do the same thing, blend over it, smooth it all out. These trees that are closer, they will take up, you know, vertically they'll take up the whole page. They go all the way up. You don't really see the tops of them, just because you're so close to them. I'm just gonna make the shape of the tree trunk. This is with a piece of compressed charcoal. Then I use my finger to smooth it out a little bit. And this is I'm kind of jumping the gun here. You should really, like I usually say, you should really start with the things that are furthest away, the sky, and then those background trees, and then after you've done those, you start moving to the foreground. But I wanted to figure out where a few of the foreground trees were going to be. So after this, I go back to the background a little bit. This isn't quite as far back as those first trees that we drew over on the right. This is like a layer closer, but it's pretty much the same process, but I am adding more detail at this point. I have a sharper pencil that I'm using so that I can make smaller little twigs and leaves and branches, and because on these ones I'm not really gonna smooth them out, so they need to look a little bit more crisp. I throw in just a couple highlights with the eraser pencil. Then I move on to another tree. I start off with a piece of compressed charcoal on this one to make it a little bit easier, because you can, a little bit of compressed charcoal goes a really long way. So you can draw the middle of the tree with compressed charcoal and then do all the little branches and everything else with a charcoal pencil. So now I just take a piece of compressed charcoal and add in a few more trees. It's good to get a few trees that are, you know, smaller and bigger so that it looks a little bit more natural. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover in this first video. In the next video I'll start going over how to do more of the foreground trees and all the details. It's a little bit harder, but I'll walk you through all the steps and try to make it as easy as I can for you. But thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like and keep an eye out for part 2. Thanks for watching.